Well, hi, everybody. It's a dog dressed in Hawaiian outfit this morning trying to convey to you how warm it is. Hey, it's a Monday morning, 9:30, another edition of Live Weber on Sports. Be careful tomorrow on Tuesday. They're talking near 100 tomorrow. So seriously, watch your grandparents and your parents. Seriously, keep an eye on them because it's supposed to be brutal on Tuesday. And then it's supposed to break for Wednesday. So again, the dog is giving you a little tip. Be careful on Tuesday. It's supposed to be near 100 degrees. This weather just continues to amaze me. I like to think that I'm somewhat old and I can't recall a stretch of weather like this. We did get a little rain, I might add, on Sunday, which was a nice thing, even though it screwed up some golf events around the area and there were some delays because of the thunder. But it was like gold and diamonds coming from the sky. You know, as I open up the show this morning, I must comment, it has nothing to do with sports. I can't figure out why you, if you're checking me out, would ever turn on Big Brother on CBS. That is the lamest, dumbest show I've ever seen in my life, but it must draw great ratings because it keeps coming back year after year. It's sort of like the dog. You can't get rid of me either. I don't understand how you can watch it. I tried to watch a little bit of it one night, and I wanted to throw my remote through the TV screen. It is the dumbest show in the world. But again, it must get great ratings. That's all I can tell you. So I got that off my chest. Another thing that's on my chest, a lot's on my chest this morning. I was always wondering where that term dumber than a rock came from. The origin of dumber than a rock. I figured it out over the weekend. It has to be the U.S. Olympic Committee. If you have just got back from Mars or from Moscow, you may have not realized that our Olympians who represent the great USA, kicking off a week from this Friday in London, will be wearing garb made in China. How does that happen? You know, I work for Gould's Pumps, ITT Industries, and I can't think of all the names that company has right now. But we used to have all kinds of events, and we would have subcommittees and more subcommittees. We would all write up reports and then pass it on upwards to our executives. Wouldn't you think that the subcommittee in charge of garments would have had in bold lettering to Ralph Lauren, "Hey, Ralph, you're a world-class designer, but be sure the jackets, the berets, the shirts, the socks, the underwear, make sure that it's made in America." Do we have to remind you how bad the economy is? How many people are out of work? And also, do I have to remind you of all the businesses that make clothing in the USA, that would be dying for that contract? How embarrassing that is to have our Olympian, the people representing the USA in the upcoming Summer Olympics in London in a couple of weeks, who will be wearing garments made in China. And I had a bad dream last night laying in bed. I have a lot of bad dreams, but this one was really a bad one. Whereas they were hanging out in the village, the Olympic Village, and a Chinese athlete came up to an American athlete and reached behind his neck to look at the label. And the Chinese person said, "Ha ha ha ha, that's made in our country, China." Ladies and gentlemen, talk about embarrassment. Can you spell the word embarrassing? I don't know who's involved in making that final decision, but they ought to be shot. I'm sorry. That is total embarrassment. To have our Olympic athletes wearing garments in totality made in China. Somebody should get tortured. Well, I don't know about you. You probably felt like you were tortured. The Musselman competition up in Geneva, Seneca Lake State Park in Geneva, New York, the 2012 edition. Jeff Henderson, who I'd like to get on the show next year as he gets ready for his 13th rendition of the Musselman, various categories, various races for the ones that really want to go balls out or the ones that want to kind of have some fun and do a little bit less than the real hard stuff. I got to tell you, folks, to anybody competing in the 2012 Musselman series that took place this past weekend, kudos from the dog. I mean, really, they had the micro muscle on Friday. That was a fun time last Friday night. On Saturday, they had the mini muscle. And on Sunday, they had the half-iron triathlon, which, of course, had to be unbelievable grueling. I guess all three of them must have been grueling. But my buddy Jessica Cosentino, a good family friend, a great friend of my daughter Sam's, she is a sweetheart, great family, married to Sweet Lou. Jessica Cosentino worked out, prepared for this competition, had worked on it for months leading up to this Musselman, and I want to send out kudos to my good friend Jess. She did a 750-meter swim, she did a 16-mile bike ride, and a 3.2-mile run. She competed on Saturday morning in the mini muscle. Her time, 1 hour and 58 minutes, incredible. She destroyed and beat a lot of her competitors. First time entry. Kudos, Weber on Sports, to my good friend Jessica Cosentino. I always knew, Jess, you were a gamer. Congratulations from our FingerLakes1.com. Well, Section 5 Basketball Hall of Fame coming up, end of October, October 27th. 10 more individuals will be enshrined. It'll be at the Burgundy Basin in Pittsford. Duke of Earl Verke, an outstanding athlete, an outstanding basketball player. Need not talk about Duke Verke's efforts on the court because we run out of time, but he has done a marvelous job, and of course he's etched in record books which will never get surpassed. So to Duke Verke from the Dog, congratulations. And you're going to go into the hall with your dad, Rod. I think Rod Verke deserves all kinds of Hall of Fame enshrinements because this guy has been a great administrator, great coach for so many years you can't count them. So father-son being enshrined in the Section 5 Basketball Hall of Fame late October. Congratulations from Weber on Sports and all of us here at FingerLakes1.com for Duke of Earl Verke and his dad, Rod. Also around the Section 5 area, Liz Brown Royston of our area, outstanding basketball player out of Whitman. She'll get enshrined. Becky Ayers Larson, great basketball player from Canandaigua. She gets in as well. And Phil White, I remember that name, an outstanding, lots of longevity as a basketball coach for the Bloomfield girls. Congratulations once again to Rod and Duke Verke, Liz Brown Royston, Becky Ayers Larson, and to Phil White. Again, ceremonies end of October, October 27th. Many more details on this ceremony as we proceed through the months. Well, let's go to the world of racing. NASCAR was in Loudon, New Hampshire this weekend. Casey Kane notches another victory. Casey Kane gets by and wins that race. Congratulations to all you fans of Mr. Casey Kane. For you Danica Patrick fans, she didn't run in the big race. She ran in a minor race on Saturday. She finished a men's 14th. Danica Patrick. Let's go to the world of golf. John Deere Golf Championship. Well, there's two local boys that have great roots at that John Deere Classic. Steve Stricker, who, by the way, had his 4 in a row snapped. He had won 3 straight championships at John Deere. He kind of had a bad back 9 for Steve Stricker. Really never was in it with about 4 holes to play. But the other guy, he's a local boy, hometown boy, Zach Johnson. He considered that his 5th major, and he pulled it out in a sudden death playoff against Troy Madison. Zach Johnson, hometown grown boy, wins the John Deere Classic. And, of course, now he's over playing in the British Open, which tees off coming up on Thursday morning. You know, I was thinking about golf. You know, there's a guy named Ted Potter Jr. He won the Greenbrier a couple of weeks ago. You got to watch Ted Potter Jr. swing the golf club. He looks like he's mashing potatoes. He swings at it with a tremendous amount of velocity. He doesn't look very good swinging the club, but who am I to badmouth a guy that wins a PGA tournament, $1 million, a 2-year exemption? Oh, by the way, an entry into next year's 2013 Masters. But I was thinking about, you know, so many young people are out there, middle-aged people and old people, that still play on the PGA Tour. Ted Potter Jr. played the Nationwide, which is, of course, the tour right below a stepping stone to the PGA Tour. A few years ago, how bad was Ted Potter Jr.'s golf game? Well, let me throw a stat at you. I can't recall the year, but it was a few years ago. Ted Potter Jr. missed 24 cuts in a row. Let me repeat that. Ted Potter Jr., the winner of Greenbrier last week in West Virginia, he wins that tournament. A few years ago, trying to get his game ready for the big show, he missed 24 cuts in a row. Talk about determination. I salute the guy. What an amazing story. Well, ladies and gentlemen, an amazing story is, yes, we have our sponsors to thank for here on the Weber on Sports live show on Monday mornings at 9:30. And by the way, before I take my break, I want to remind you that I did buy my bike at Burt's. We'll be back after this. Hi, everybody. Hawaiian Dog back with you on a Monday morning. Weber on Sports. Hope you had a nice weekend. Again, be careful about the weather tomorrow on Tuesday, close to 100 degrees. I bring that message out to you because it's supposed to be brutal. Well, not brutal. The Yankees are playing like a machine. Put a quarter in the Yankees and they seem to win. Well, Nova wasn't Casanova yesterday against the Angels. They were going for the sweep. He hung too many curveballs and they sent him bye-bye-bye. But, you know, the Yankees are taking 2 out of 3. Now they play Toronto series starting tonight. But Yankees just seem to be on all cylinders. Believe it or not, they had a chance to tie that game with A-Rod up with the bases loaded in the bottom of the ninth. He popped up to right field. But, hey, Yankees are on fire. Of course, the team that I like to pick on is the Mets. The Mets, I love to pick on your Mets. I'm sorry. They were in the hunt after the first half. And I know it's only 3 games, but they got swept by Atlanta. Yes, they did. They lost 3 in a row. Santana making $23 million a year. He looked good the last 2 outings, giving up 5 runs to the Cubbies, and yesterday getting bombed by the Braves. How's that check being written by Sandy Alderson to Mr. Santana? Johan having some difficulty. I got to tell you something. I always like to pick on the Mets. They had this R.A. Dickey, the next Cy Young. Well, they the purists of baseball were saying they're going to catch up with him in that knuckleball. Guess what? They have. His last 3 starts, he's given up 5 runs, earned runs in all those 3 starts. So he's still a good pitcher. He obviously has done a great job for the Mets this year. But I think the National League hitters are catching up with an R.A. Dickey. Let me remind you, Newark Pilot Baseball, they are hanging tough. They won 4 in a row after losing a tough game on our last broadcast last Wednesday night against Amsterdam when they almost pulled out a miraculous comeback, trailing 16-1, and they made it 16-12, had bases loaded, and the tying run at the plate. Since then, the Ullmans, Bob and Leslie, and Chris Ebride, and everybody connected. Yeah, Brian Connell, the GM, got that team pumped up. They've won 4 straight. They're in 3rd place in their league. And, of course, that's only 8 games away. Congratulations to the spirit of the Never Say Die Newark Pilots. By the way, they're scheduled this week, and I urge you to get over to Newark to watch out some fantastic baseball and to see a beautiful facility. Of course, tonight they're at Elmira. Tomorrow night they're off Tuesday. Wednesday we will be there broadcasting the game. Cooperstown comes into town. They are in last place of the league. We will be on there around 7 o'clock. Thursday they go back to Elmira. Friday, they're at Amsterdam, league-leading Amsterdam. Saturday, they're home against Mohawk Valley. And Sunday, they travel to Watertown. Again, we will be there on Wednesday night for our 7th broadcast of an 8-game package that Jim worked out with the Ullmans. Well, you know something, flashing back to last week at the Country Club, the 2012 Women's AM and the Mid-Am were contested. Fantastic experience at the Seneca Falls Country. Great job by Bill Moore and his New York Golf Association, New York State Golf Association, from Betty, from Eddie. You name it, they were all actively involved in it. Their team did a great job. It was quite warm, obviously, outside. It was superb golf. In the Mid-Am, defending champion Teresa Cleland, she comes from behind to win the event on Thursday, which was the final round. Congrats goes out to Teresa Cleland from Weber on Sports. She's a graduate of Niagara, like my buddy Dennis Coggins. She's been a teacher for over 30 years in the Syracuse School District She plays her golf out of Bellevue Country Club. And in the women's am, the E&E team stole the show. Where am I going with this? Yeah, they stole the show and the thunder at SFCC. E for brother Eddie, who guided his sister E for Ellen, as the Oswald team took control early and coasted to a 5 or 6 shot victory. Never say never with the Oswalds. They dominated the final round. Ellen played smart golf, limiting her miscues. Her family, by the way, plays their golf at famed Westchester Country Club in Harrison, New York. That is a brutal track. See, you might say no course would scare Eddie and Ellen, because playing Westchester, I guess every other golf course in the country, literally, would seem easy. So congratulations from Weber on Sports to Ellen Oswald for capturing the women's am. Ellen, congratulations. Hope you're checking me out this morning. And to your brother Eddie, you owe him big time. He carried the bag, he gave you advice, and I'm sure you're indebted to him for months to come. I hope that Eddie and Ellen show up next year at nearby Ithaca, as the women's am and mid-am will go down the road to Route 89 about 35-40 miles away to play at the Ithaca Country Club. Finger Lakes One coverage, Jimmy Senecropi, 5.5 hours. We were at the country club. I wondered how we could do 5.5 hours continuously. It was pulled off. We had a great team. I was working at the broadcast and the studio host with my buddy Arthur Lyons, who did a fantastic job. First time doing any media work. Arthur, kudos to you. You look good. You sounded great. Bobby LaPrade, who was sick with allergies, he was out on the golf course filming the clips that we used. Matt Olmstead, Harry Hyde, Jeremy Hunt, and of course our leader, director, producer, and owner of FingerLakes1.com, Jim Senecropi, directed it all, and it went very well. It went somewhat flawless. We can't say that very often. Well, ladies and gentlemen, it's time to give you a comment about Joe Pa. Of course, the report is out now, the Louis Freeh report. Louis Freeh, of course, a former FBI director. His report now, after 8 months, is now etched in our history. I'm going to read something that his conclusion, his committee came up with. The most saddening finding by the Special Investigative Counsel is the total and consistent disregard by the most senior leaders at Penn State for the safety and welfare of Sandusky's child victims. The report states 4 of the most powerful people at the Pennsylvania State University failed to protect against a child sexual predator harming children for over a decade. Most damning by Freeh's findings is that in 2001, after an assistant coach saw Sandusky raping a young boy in the showers of a Penn State locker room, an intervention by Paterno was apparently instrumental in convincing university officials to sweep this sad incident under the rug. We're talking about Tim Curley, talking about Gary Schultz, and we're talking about Graham Spanier, the president, and of course Joe Paterno. My good friend John Masley, who lives in Pennsylvania, we are on different sides of the road on this issue. He believes that we are being too cruel and too harsh on Paterno's legacy. He believes he's not as guilty as the commission has reported. I, however, take the other side, and I love John Masley as a personal friend. My rationale for my personal opinion is the fact that I believe you checking me out, I know that I would do it, I know my wife Mary would do it, and I know that Jim Senecropi would do it, is that once that was reported by McCurry to Paterno, Paterno did what the book said to do. He went and reported it to his 2 higher-ups. I know that in a 48-hour period from the time he got that information and reported to his higher-ups, if I didn't see a bunch of police cars on Penn State University's grounds, I would have gone to the cops. Yes, I would have. And I'm not some purist, and I don't sit next to Jesus. Okay? What I'm saying to you is by him not following up and reporting it to the cops after he did not see a swarm of cop cars on that campus, I don't give him 1 day. I'll give him 1 day. I'll give him 2 days. I'm sorry. You could never, ever convince me that he did the right thing. His legacy, a great coach, a great administrator, Mr. Penn State. People love Joe Pa. The donors love to give money. His football program, for the most part, was very successful. My point is, you got to do the right thing. And after 48 hours, the right thing would have been going to the cops. Joe Pa did not do that. So to me, he was instrumental in the cover-up. What's really saddening to me, and it should be to you, by Joe Pa not going to the cops, what did that allow? That allowed the Penn State monster, the sexual predator of all predators, Jerry Sandusky, to victimize other young people years afterwards. That's the finding. How would you like to be the parents of a child that was molested by Sandusky after 2001, which did happen? We all know Sandusky is going to jail for 800 years. He'll die in prison. Way to go. My issue is Paterno swept it under the rug. Didn't want bad publicity. If he'd have come forward, got the cops involved, Sandusky would have been apprehended. And yes, not just maybe, but definitely some kids who were victimized would have not been. I'm sorry, Maz. I take the issue. This guy has a terrible legacy. Take down the statue. Take his name off the buildings. He deserved no credit whatsoever. Dog and Paulie coming up Wednesday. Expect a couple of Newark Pilot baseball players to join us. We hope to get Chrissy Bright or the general manager, Brian Connell. We're not sure who's coming, but we're going to have some Newark Pilot presence here in the studios this coming Wednesday for the Dog and Paulie. Take care, everybody. Hope you have a great day. Stay cool. That's a look at sports my way.